So my name is Cynthia. I've been with slow fashion movement for the last 2 years. This is my second slow fashion season. Really honored to have you all with us with our slow fashion season edition of 2022. We're almost nearing the middle. And if you've been following our social media, we've been talking a lot about the psychology behind fashion. And also, that's not just about the bad effects that fashion could have on us based on our consumption patterns. It's also a very positive thing sometimes because clothing can really rebuild our relationship that we have with the world. I think, especially when you start to learn how to mend things and how when you look into fabric. So that's also why we're very excited to have Erika with us today. Erika is an ambassador with Slow Fashion Movement, but also she started Erika's Upcycling. So she's really keen to share with us the importance of respecting materials and processes and our personal style, really. But I won't take too much time introducing her because I believe that Erika has a lot to show to us. So over to you, Erika. Thanks for doing this workshop with us on upcycling and mending.
Thank you, Cynthia. And thank you, Puya, for helping me organize this workshop. And thank you all, Sue, Nancy, Lillian, Christine, Bhavna, for joining. So we're all set. You can all see the screen. Is it to go?
Yes.
Okay, so today, Slow Fashion Movement brings you the art of mending. Basically, the action of repairing something that is damaged. As simple as that. My name is Erika Steinvorth. I go by the name of Erika in social media. I don't know, since always, so it got stuck to that. And yeah, I'm from Costa Rica. I've always loved to alter and mend my clothing. I love thrift shops and just modifying things. I find it very important. So I'm very happy you're giving me the time to show you what activities you can do, and that way also share between us. Because the nice thing about talking about discussing this sort of topics is that sometimes you learn little details that you might have not thought before. So let's continue. The importance of mending. Now, when you mend a garment, you're basically giving a story to your clothing. And this is something I think very powerful that we all have, and doesn't really require much like studying somewhere or buying a lot of materials. It's basically having a sewing kit, like a thread and needle, the broken garment, let's say, and your commitment to fix it, give some time to it. When you do that, when you do give yourself the permission to say, okay, I'm going to dedicate how many hours are worth to do this change, even if the result is not perfect, the fact of finishing this project, like this commitment that you put on you, it empowers you a lot. At least it does for me. And then you always have like a story. I love doing mending that kind of like stands out. So I have something to talk about, or just to remind myself, for example, like if I have a hole here, put it like blue, and then I remember what the scratch was. Then this is also a really good use of time. Once you're like sewing or concentrating your head on a project, it's a good distraction from how fast our lives go. I imagine everybody experiences with work and just life and always being connected online. Everything is fast, like immediate. There's like no respect for time or processes. And these sort of activities, I find it personally that are really good for pacing yourself and finding some sort of mindfulness. And last but not least, it creates community. If you have your mates, you can get together and have a cup of coffee and mend. So that's also something really good. We are very social animals, so it is a worthwhile activity. So I just wanted to point out this quote from Ursula de Castro, which I really like. We aren't repurposing and mending clothes because we can't afford to buy something new. We're doing it because we can't afford to throw something away. I find this goes on my head over and over again, and even more so now that I found this group of slow fashion movement. It's like encourages it more. I don't feel like I'm crazy. That if I'm going to get a piece of clothing or any sort of thing in my house, I want to make sure that it's practical, that it's going to have a long use of life, and that I can fix it somehow, right? So it's not that you don't have money, so you're just distributing your money somewhere else because you want your things to have quality. You don't want quantity, you want quality. So yeah, I really like this quote. And now we can move on to this last sort of quote, equation. So mending is another slow fashion practice, right? The longer we use our clothes, the slower is our consumption. And this goes back again to when you purchase something, either new or old, fine, just that you're sure that you're going to use that. You're buying it because there is a use in your life for it more than once. Well, obviously for more than 30 times, I don't know. Just not a one-use thing makes a really good difference in the quality of what we have and how much we crave to consume. As you get a wardrobe that you actually like and you feel very identified with, when you see all those articles of like, oh, look at what Kate Middleton's bra is, it sold out in 2 hours. That doesn't really should affect anybody. If you have like your bras that give you nice form and you're like, okay, great for Kate and her bra, but I'm happy with mine. And if later on some sort of inspiration comes from those articles, it's great. But if you have a good wardrobe, you don't feel that necessity to consume. At least it happens to me. I don't know if it happens to anybody else here attending. So let's start with mending is influenced by the cycle of our clothes. So this is a very simple example. Basically, when you have a pair of jeans or trousers and your body shape doesn't fluctuate that much, normally you will have a few years of using those trousers as long trousers, but then eventually they start getting like broken perhaps, or you start getting like holes on scratches, let's say like on the knees and that. So automatically those trousers turn into shorts. And normally that happens around summer. I don't know, when you find yourself like that the trousers, you can really use them as shirts. So for example, this is the cycle of clothes that I mean. In my head, whenever I have jeans or long trousers, I know that in a few years time, they will also be part of my short collection or short pants. I don't know if I am being clear with the terminology, right? Like not pants of underwear, pants of pants, shorts. Yeah. Okay. So let's start with some examples of mending. We have fraying edges. Everybody give me a hands up if you know what fraying edges are, if I'm saying the right terminology in your heads. You know, you can do reactions. here on your, yeah, that's a good statement. As well, please. Okay, so basically this happens a lot with the majority of fabric. So if you pay a bit of attention onto the camera that says Erika's close-up on your screen, this is a little close-up of me. This is me. Hello. And when you have fraying edges on wherever, it can be on trousers or bags, basically it happens with the majority of fabric. You always have to sew it properly so that it doesn't happen. But obviously with use and time, you can get edges like that. So what you can do is either sew it with the invisible stitch, that is the stitch I want to practice with you guys, or you can use, for example, bias tape. Bias tape is basically just fabric on like a strip of fabric that you iron. Basically you do the fabric. So what you do is with the iron, you fold it in half first, and then you open it up and you fold those edges again towards the half, and you iron again like this. So what you have is like a nice tape that you can sew on the edges. And this is like the finish is really nice and clean, and it gives it like a lot of light. It extends the use of your garment or bag. So this is the bias tape. I have a little video here of an example I did. If you do it diagonally, it's better because it gives like flexibility to your tape. So as you can see here, the end of this, I was doing a pocket for a skirt. And in this case, I chose a tape that went like it contrasted the fabric. This is not so much of a mend, but it's like the example I can show you of how you use it. So yes, you can do it in a straight strip, but if you do it diagonally, then like the threads of the fabric are going to let you kind of like stretch around corners without with more ease, and it's going to like give like a flat finish, as you can see here. So that's the bias tape. You can easily do it with any fabric you have left over from your projects. You can also do it with, sorry, I wanted to show you also, if you have strips of jersey, that helps too. This is another way you can do the tape around edges that could break. Moving on to the next one, we have holy jeans. That's with a little bit of a laugh. The technique is overstitching with machine, with a sewing machine. So basically, here is an example of my husband's jeans that they have a hole started something like this. Look at the close-up camera. So this is a very normal sort of thread that you get from jeans. You can put, for example, what do you call it? Oh, it's going to appear here. A patch. So, for example, you could use a patch around it, behind it, and give it like a nice. If you like color, like I do, I like putting color, and so that it surprises your eye here and there. So, for example, you can just like sew around here with a piece of fabric, and that will hold this frame from moving on, from continuing or expanding. But this technique that I'm talking about is basically called overstitching, that is just sewing on over and over and over again on the hole. And what I did in this one is that I used some interfacing. Interfacing is like a stabilizer for fabric. So you can do the interface, but for example, that is an experiment. Next time I might just use a piece of cotton, because look at the washes, it's coming off. So like a piece of cotton, just like you can put this on the back of your jeans and do the same activity, the same stitch. And it's a really good fix. It holds it nicely. And the funny thing is that you cannot see it that much. Like if you play with the colors properly, it doesn't, it's kind of like an invisible mend. If you want it to stand out, you just put a color that it's contrasting, right? And here I'm going to show you how happy he ended up with his jeans. Well, no, that's how it looks. The jeans, and then I feel very proud, and he feels happy. I'm not going to put his face. It's a sarcastic thing. It's kind of grumpy face. Okay, examples of mending. Here we go. The patch. So patches can be, you don't necessarily have to go and buy the fancy patches that you see on haberdasheries. You can easily get them done with your own stash of fabric. And the way that I do that is using interface. Again, if you see here in the close-up, this is the piece of interfacing. This one is iron on, which means it's got like a glue. And so you put it on the piece of fabric that you want to stabilize, and that can help, like with the, for example, if it's a piece of cotton, is a way that it doesn't fray as you sew it on, and once you're sewing it on, it like stays there. You can also use it to stop a stretchy material like this from stretching. And so I have an example here. This is like my basket of dental patch material. So if you see, it's got like, I like all the scraps that I have that have like little things that can be cut around for specific holes, or I mean, you can do fun patches. If you want it, you put the interfacing on the back of it, and then you can just sew it on. You can even get your name on, like if you want to put your initial. I don't know. So yeah, patches are great. You're not stuck to buying them on the store. You can easily do them at your house. I think like the most important piece of material, other than the fabric you have at home, is this interfacing material. It's very worthwhile to have a meter there lying around at the house. Okay. And here is, okay, this is an example of the patches. So you can make them in all the shapes you want. And then there's a hole there. For example, I wanted it to do like a sort of peekaboo effect in this one. After this, for example, this part here, I cut out the leftover fabric, and then I did an extra like seam around it. So this is exactly that patch there. It comes from that suitcase I showed you of pieces of fabric. It's got the interfacing at the back. It's nice and stable, and it's a way to splash some color onto your material. This is another example that I did for some jeans that I used to wear back in England, and I used upholstery material to keep warm, right? And I did that technique also, just cutting the scraps of fabric according to what colors I wanted them to pop up. So patches, they're lying around in our house easily. Okay, then we move on to wrong size shirt, fitting or enlarging. Because sometimes we feel like, oh no, you can only make it smaller, but that's not the case. You can also make them wider for if you need to make them bigger. For example, this is an example here of shortening it. What normally I do to do this sort of a activity is you have your own, like you choose a shirt that already fits nicely in your wardrobe. That's your pattern, let's say. And what you do is you go ahead and first you're gonna seam, for example, the sleeves, because it's important. Like you do need to adjust that if it's like a smaller size that you want, or if you want to have it bigger, also you have to adjust it. So you put your fitted shirt on top of the one you want to alter, and from there you can get your measurements to cut it and then sew back on again. With the enlarging, it would be like the same, but basically what you do is you add material to the edges here, like the important seam that will help you alter like how wide or tight your shirt is. It's normally the seam that everybody has here. This is the one where you can take fabric from or add. I just realized I don't have here my example. So let's move on to the next one. Now missing a button. When you have a button missing from a shirt, a good tip is to look at the cord, like on the side of the shirt. Most likely you might find on the labels, they have extra buttons there for you. If not, then my suggestion is basically you move on to putting fun buttons that go with the rest of them, or just change the whole suit. What I do is, for example, in my sewing studio, I have a drawer that it's all full of buttons, because like if there's clothing that I'm taking the fabric from it, like harvesting fabric, I also harvest the buttons. So if you have like a little box of buttons, you will find yourself being able to replace a button that fell off a shirt. Normally, well, you do it by hand. And again, you take your time. This is one that I had to change all the buttons because actually I didn't have the one to replace it. But that's the good thing about saving your buttons. And also at the haberdashery, they're not that expensive. And you can give it some story also, that you design a little bit more the shirt by adding your own buttons. Okay, now buttons, I'm talking here about trousers and okay, the buttons I'm talking here is trousers and skirts, basically the bottom part of our clothing. So basically we are now I think we're in a time of change where we're moving, like 6 years ago, I think the high waist came in again that I was able to grasp. After we went for years in, well, it went from the hip, then kind of mid waist, and now we went to high. And I feel and I fear, because I've been seeing some youngsters walking around here, they're starting to get lower again, the waists. So this is an interesting sort of situation if you want to keep up with the trends, obviously, but it's not impossible, which is the great thing. So if you are moving, for example, if you have a skirt, this happened actually to a friend of mine, and it's right here. I'll show you. Just a moment, sorry. Okay, so I have this friend that she has all these sort of like skirts and trousers that she absolutely loves. And she wore them, yeah, I guess like during her 20s. I remember going to university and seeing her with some of them, and example, this example that is very big for her hip, for her waist. She wants it to be nice and up here so that she can use her beautiful fabrics. So what I have is a bottom elastic, nice and thick. This is like a good thickness. There's even thicker ones. And this is a simple example that you get, for example, the waist of the person, the measurement, you take a 10% off. That measurement normally is like some 5 centimeters or something like that. And then you just attach it. What I'm going to do is attach it here. I'm doing it on purpose so that the elastic looks comes out because I like how it looks. And I did another pair a few weeks ago, and she was very happy about it. So that's what we're doing. So this is a way that you can make something that was for your hip go up to your waist. Obviously, this is already like gathered here, right? So you know you can play around with gathering it more. When it's the other way around, what you do is you undo the top of the trousers. How do you call that part? The part with the button? Pretina in Spanish.
You mean like this? This
the
waistband.
The waistband. Okay. So because you have the elastic ones, right? You got the elastic waistbands, but you find yourself sometimes with like rigid, like the jeans, for example. So now this one is it is a fix that takes a lot longer, because what you're doing is that you have to unseam that waistband. And once you have unseam it, then you can tuck in how much you need to tuck in. So, for example, so I don't have it here. For example, let's see. Because all of the words I have here are elastic. But what I'm saying is basically, if you unsew this part, the waistband, and you unsew it all, then you have the liberty to play with this side seam and trousers. And that's where you can get your inches in so that it can fit into on your waist, or you can separate it and give it more space. I mean, add a strap there, a band there, and then you adjust also the waistband, and then that's how you can change like the top of trousers that are not stretched, for example. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and this is an example of a project. This is a lady that she really likes her, like that dress. It was a dress initially, but something went on like with the top part, that she wasn't that happy about it. But she really liked how the bottom part of the dress fell on her. So what we did was basically just separate it, unsew the whole top and bottom, because the dress gave it. Obviously, sometimes you get dresses that are come in one piece together. In this case, we could get away with doing a very simple alteration by unseaming the two parts and then adding a zipper to the back. of the skirt. So basically from one garment, we got two of them, which is the coolness. That this is going back again to the cycle of clothes, you know, like we were talking about the trousers that are long that can become into shorts. The same can be, for example, with dresses. You basically have a potential skirt and a potential top that you can get from that dress. So that's, yeah, going back to the cycle of clothing. Okay, now we're going to move on to like the practical part of the workshop. I don't know if anybody has, well, I will leave the questions for later, but right, Cynthia, or can we review if anybody wants to discuss any of the men's that were presented? Because if not, we can move on. Did everybody bring something kind of like that needs a fix?
Yes, definitely. I got this skirt with the waistband and there's a hole in it now. So I need to put it back together. Anyone else has something they want to show?
Okay. So Christine also has some holy articles. Oh, okay. So that the fabrics are delicate and we don't know how to deal with that. Is it like a very thin sort of cotton?
Yeah, I could just show you if I can find the right spot, but it's basically it's a stretchy fabric and it's very thin, and then there's just a little bit of a hole. Oh my gosh, it's not even little here. It's can you see me? I can't see myself.
Yes, I can see you.
You see
People
that?
click on view and standard, they can see other people as well.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so it's a pretty stretchy fabric, and this is a hole at the elbow. Yeah.
Ooh, elbow patches. Yeah, that's like a neat sort of material that would be better to do it by hand. If you were to do like what I would do there would be mostly like a patch. If you have
Okay.
like another sort of black fabric that is stretchy so that it stretches with the rest of it,
Yeah.
kind of like embrace that hole and see how you can make it look really
Neat. Thank
pretty,
you.
because that's the thing with the stretchy fabric. It's kind of it's great, beautiful and comfortable, but with the mending, it's kind of like it's a little bit difficult because it's stretchy, like you can alter, yeah, you alter the stretchiness and then it kills kind of like the practicality of it.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you
I'll
for
look around
sharing
for
that.
good patches. Thanks.
Okay, so what we can do is I can show you this invisible stitch or hidden stitch, which is something I find very common. Well, those are like 80% of the mending I have to do here for the family. It tends to be, yeah, like when a seam comes undone. Now my piece of example fabric, oh dear, where did it go? I had a great example fabric. Okay, so now I'll show you first the tools to use. So back again here to the close-up camera. Very important tools to use when mending. You have the seam ripper. This one helps you unseam seams, and it's great. It's got like a little how do you say philosophy? A little sharp area here. And this point is great because once you find like the angle perfectly, you can like just go through seams easily. Then there's this snippet that is used for knitting, but it's also very easy to have when you're sewing. It's a kind of set snip rather than having the big. These ones are very heavy. Then you have your pins and your needle. Okay, needle and thread, very important. Okay. So, oh, I just realized, Cynthia, I didn't go on with your waistband. It's an elastic one, right?
Yes, it is.
It is
Stretchy.
stretchy. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, it's like just basically sewn onto the rest of the.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know if you can see this. You can see the line here. So I'm assuming I just have to reattach the lines to the waist.
Yes, just be sure that when you're doing like once you, because you're going to do it in the machine, right? The sewing machine. Okay, so once you have the needle down, like that, it's grabbed onto the fabric. You do the overstitch to secure it, and then what you do is you do stretch that waistband so that it's flat, like so that your that's how you gather the fabric basically. So you just make sure you do like a little stretch on the waistband so that the bottom fabric is kind of like flat. So that will sew on to the stretched elastic, and once you let go of it, you'll see that it's going to gather like the rest of the fabric.
That's a great tip. I was actually just going to do it by hand because it's a very small hole. So I'll just stretch it at the same time. Thank you.
Try it out because it's nice and effective, and I think it's easier to control like the elastic and get it done with than with, well, by hand also works slowly but surely, it helps us. Okay, so moving on to the hidden stitch. So this is, I'm going to show you here first on this piece of paper. Let's see if I can get it. I don't know if you've seen like the 5-minute craft videos. They have this example a lot. So basically this is, let's say you have a seam here that has opened up. So these are the two pieces of fabric, but it's open on this side, right? Open here. You're not going to unseam any of that because it's something very simple. You can fix, actually even the color of the thread sometimes doesn't really affect because it's hidden, which is really cool. So from how it works is basically you are working on the inside. You can imagine here that the fabric here is folded. So the fabric it's folded like this, right? Which means that this edge has two sides to it. You have the outside and the inside of the edge, right? So, so this picture is basically like something like this, right? And I'm going to show you just on the piece of paper now how like the order of how you stitch it to get the invisible stitch. So basically you will go to the inside of one side, go down, and then you go across to the other side and you stitch through the inside, and then you go across and you stitch on the inside. I'm going to show you with the thread. If you guys have a piece of fabric that you would like to try it, let's try it out, so that you can ask here. But anyways, I'm always available and just a message away, like, Erika, I have this situation. And I'll be happy to think about it. I love solving fabric and clothing problems. Okay, so sometimes, like in this case, I can do it like from inside as I'm doing here, but sometimes it's already like closed. If it's like a piece of clothing that it's fine on other pieces. Normally you're going to have like a hole like this. So you can start from the inside. You make sure that your needle doesn't go on the outside of the fabric. You just grab the one layer. Hold on, I need to get it closer to my face. Okay. I'm going to do it with a quick knot here. I have children singing. Doesn't bother you guys. Okay, so as you can see, the stitch here, you cannot see it on this side, on the outside, but like in here. So what I'm going to do now that I pass the stitch in between the two fabrics, I'm going to cross to the other side and do the same. Make sure that the needle didn't come out this side. Okay, and then I'm going to cross to the other side and do the same. See, here, wrong, it's coming out. So, and cross to the other side. And stitch. Now look at this beauty. When you close it, when you pull on it, you cannot see the thread. It's an invisible stitch. So let me know, does anybody have the opportunity to try it out? Let me know. Also, if you need me to explain it in another way.
Can you show how to start again? Like the very first stage.
The very first stage, okay. So I'm going to start it, and let's start with another piece of thread. I don't know if maybe this thread you cannot see it that well. I could try with I could try it with paper. Okay. Paper is a great way also to practice because it behaves better than fabric. Fabric is a wild thing. A neat trick also for when threading a needle is cutting the thread like diagonally, and that helps it fit in the needles with more ease. Like so, without leaking it. Well, this is just because I don't know now with the whole pandemic thing, leaking things in front of people is it's not accepted. Okay. So let's go ahead and use this purple one to see if I can show you how the beginning goes. So yeah, you can do your knot here. So in order to have this stitch, it's normally when you have edges that have been folded like this, right? There's a connection, the seam, that's how all the seams look. If you see in our clothing, they're all like that. The seam has the fabric, and there's like the seam allowance. That's like the inside part of the fabric that has been sewn together, and it's inside, right? So it always is built of the two, the outside of the fabric and the inside. So we're going to work on the inside of the fabric to make it hidden. So here we go. We're coming out on this, on the edge here. So we're going to the other side. So this, the other side. And you go in and out on that same side without touching the outside of the fabric, right? It's just this flap that you're going to pass the fabric on. So you have the stitch went in through the inside, out again, and now we go across the other side of this fabric. It goes in and out again. And you go across, in and out. So when you pull the fabric, it's stitched together, but you don't see the thread anywhere. So that's the beautiful invisible stitch. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, that was such a clear explanation, thank you. When you're doing it, not to show someone, do you still leave a lot of excess thread until you finish like going across the whole seam and then pull it tight still, or
That's a
that was
really
to
good.
show us?
Yeah, that was just to show you. That's a really good idea. Detail to make it clear. You do keep on pulling it as you go on, but sometimes the space is so tight that that you need to keep it open for a while so that your fingers fit. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, like you go as you pull as you advance, and you can fit in it. It's like the formula I can pass you guys.
Yeah, that makes sense, thank you.
I think I got it. Thank you.
Yay, great. No, I swear, like when I got the hang of that stitch, it was like a whole new world of
Yeah.
things. And even if you don't have the fabric, like the thread that goes along with it, you saw here, it's white with purple, and you cannot see it. So that's also like a plus, that it's a fix that you can do with basically what you have at the house, and with this beautiful asset that we all have, which is time. Grace, I see you over there. Did you bring any thread and fabric? This is a fellow friend from Latin America.
Honestly, this was so great. I've loved being here with everyone and learning about this new magical invisible stitch. We have 5 more minutes left before the end of this workshop. So if anyone still has questions for Erika in general, do shout now. This is your chance.
This is I just want to obviously with receiving this information, you might not have the question right now. If it pops up later on, I'll be happy to answer. You can message me on Instagram, and I'll be happy to answer. Even do like little a meet if it helps to show. I love doing this sort of thing, so here I am.
Thank you so much, Erika. Well, since there are no questions, I just wanted to thank you a lot for showing us and also preparing the presentation. I think it's been really inspiring knowing that there's so many ways of simply changing the clothes that you already have. My mind was blown when I saw that dress that was turned into a skirt and then a top with a new funky coloring waistband there. So that's really inspiring. In the chat, I've put some links for you, the audience, if you want to rewatch this workshop again. It will be up on our YouTube channel. And of course, do follow Erika and the Slow Fashion Movement if you want to know more about our upcoming events. And of course, it's not too late to sign up for Slow Fashion Season, be a part of the movement, comment with us, love your clothes, and buy nothing new for the next 30 days. So thank you, Erika. Do you have anything to share with the rest?
Well, no, thank you all for attending and listening. This is very inspiring. Sometimes in this sort of slow fashion life, we kind of feel lonely. So these sort of activities are great. What I mentioned earlier in the presentation, building community. We're social animals. We need community, and thankfully, with technology, we can do this sort of activity. So I'm very thankful that you gave me the chance.
Thank you. Well, if you have anything that you're mending on inspired by this workshop, do tag Erika and she can have a look. I'm definitely going to show my skirt when it's done. So have a wonderful Sunday, everyone.